that your wallet? Or are you just glad to see me?
Both, I hope.
Are we ready? Are we ready for the true goblin adventure? The only way to make gold. Because they nerf everything. Time to do some fishing. Time to throw everything we know out the window. Time to do some fishing. Alrighty, let's get stuff set up, shall we? Alrighty. Turn good old Sandstorm down a little bit, shall we? How are you all doing? Good morning. Hang on, let me snooze the ads. It's you would not believe the amount of DMs, comments, ats I woke up to this morning. Oh, it was quite funny. We had I mean, something might have changed. Don't know. Something might have changed. I can think of somebody who's gold capped and they said they got it all from fishing. Krendor? Krendor, is that you? Maybe. I've been putting off testing fishing for a while, but today seems like an absolutely fantastic day to have a little bit of a poke around, whip our rods out, and you know, see what we catch. I knew it was coming. Because I knew Blizzard were very aware of it, and I very much assumed that Blizzard would go the path of the greater good. And the path of the greater good was clearly not to let players use multiple alts. Can we zoom in on this? No, apparently not. So this was the hotfix from yesterday. And professions, Artisan's Acuity, reagent cost for rare and epic profession tools and accessories may now only be provided by the customer for the crafting orders. It was very, very likely to change. There is some pros and cons to this, though. There's definitely some pros and cons. I mean, like I said, it makes it for the general player base fairer. The efforts that you do on one character, well, you have to do it on one character. There's no advantage to having multiple characters. I didn't think the advantage from a multiple character perspective was too ridiculous, because 3 alts... I think everybody has 3 alts, right? Especially since they wouldn't even need to have been max level. Could have been level 70s for sure. But it does now mean all goblins are going to have to do is just get creative on their main characters, so... What is this? This is a little bit heavy for us morning. A little bit heavy. Well, something not quite as heavy, shall we? So yeah, I kind of knew this was coming. It does mean that big goblins out there are just going to shuffle on their main characters, and then a week, 2 weeks into the expansion, pick up their main profession and BGG, right? You just profession shuffle every week now, and you do that until you've got enough Artisan's Acuity to buy everything, and then you stop. It's expensive. There's no denying it's expensive. But the fact that you retain your knowledge points on your professions means it's entirely possible to do. How many knowledge points do you think we'll have by September the 17th, 3 weekend resets after the launch? It varies heavily. It varies heavily between the professions. The stuff you can do to go and get knowledge is basically the same, but of course every profession has a different number of A different number of first-time crafts is probably where the big variance comes in. Some professions have 20 recipes, some professions have 60. So it's like there's a lot more first-time knowledge and in turn acuity to be attained on some professions than others, but 15 a week after a big burst. Yeah, that's not far from the truth. Your weekly activities, assuming you've done all of the one-time stuff, your weekly activities are like 10 to 15 knowledge points. But of course, the catch-up system is... We don't really know how the catch-up system works yet. So they claim the catch-up system might kick in from week 2. We kind of guess that the glimmers and the flickers that you get from patron orders is what the catch-up system is. But they haven't given us really any details or numbers on that, so it's a little bit difficult to test because the catch-up system is on the beta, but we don't know how on it is, if that makes sense. Do I have professions on this dude? I've got enchanting. Where's enchanting over? So these things, when you go to your table and you look at your crafting orders, the irony is that none of these actually have. Have they? I wonder if this is just enchanting. I wonder if they've reset the patron orders. Shuffle the profession for the weekly quests. Well, you're gonna. I mean, you are gonna do some outrageously sweaty things. Your goal is to get 2,000 artisans acuity as fast as you can. Really, the sooner you can get it, the sooner you're done. Right? The sooner you can get it, the sooner you're done. And you can get your profession tools, and you can get max build, and you can start guaranteeing stuff at quality 3, and you can start industrializing your professions and supplying the world with the stuff they want. That's kind of the point. Can you still save 150 acuity by buying the recipe on an alt? But your alt can still craft it for you. There's no change in terms of the fact that you can still level up that alt to craft the tool for you. The only difference is they can't pay for it. you still have to pay for it. But I mean, there's not too much value in doing that because any old crafter on your realm. This might lead a lot more players to main profession tool crafting. It's a bit of a guaranteed win in the first few weeks. It's a work order system, but it's a work order system you can do from day one. Whereas obviously if you go work order gear doesn't really kick in until the raid launches and people get their sparks. So what happens if you're ahead on knowledge points? No knowledge points via patron orders. Yeah, basically. I'm pretty sure that patron orders is just going to be... we don't know what the system is, but there'll be some flexible system behind the scenes that knows how many knowledge points you've got on your profession and will distribute you glimmers or flickers relative to that number, I guess. Fishing gonna make us billions. Well, I'm doing fishing today because actually my shameless promo, my guide was severely lacking in the fishing department, so it needed to be done. I was playing around with fishing a little bit last night, only for an hour because they took the servers offline. They did the test server thingy, which all started far too late for me to really actually do anything, or to test it, which was a bit of a shame. I would have liked to have tested it, but that one. But yeah, my guide's got basically nothing in terms of fishing. This is not the best sales pitch, but if you scroll all the way down to the bottom and you get all the way down to fishing, it's pretty bare bone. I've not really done much with it as of yet, but I mean, it's fishing, isn't it? It will be good, short term. It might be something that I bang it out like nice and fast, where it could be a prime candidate for early access. If I get burnt out leveling characters in early access, I think we might be able to look at doing some fishing. Could potentially could potentially look at getting our fishing nicely set up during early access. We may or may not be able to get the weaver line. There's a thing called the Algari weaver line. Do I have a picture of it? I don't have a picture of it. Of course I don't. There's a thing called an Algari weaver line, which is made by tailors. It's basically something you attach onto your fishing rod that you can then stack. What is it? These things, Algari angular threads. And I think there's another one. There's a second one. One gives you flat skill when you're fishing. The other one gives you perception whilst you're fishing, and they stack up to 100. And they're warbound, which is quite cool. And your weaver thread is warbound as well. There's some achievements for it somewhere I spotted. Where do they go? Fishing. Probably down the bottom. Yeah, here we go. So, share the seeker thread collected across your warband. Share the angler thread collected across your warband. Every 10. This is a similar to your cloak in Remix. Your cloak in Remix, you know, every milestone of threads, it was then account wide. Kind of the same thing with your fishing progress. So they've done something to make fishing more interesting. I don't know how great or fun or engaging it's going to be particularly, but there's more to it than there was, at least, which is good. But let me say my welcomes. Let me say my hellos. How are we all doing, boys and girls? Are we good? Oh, the battle is on between Team YouTube and Team Twitch. Oh, okay. Team Twitch wins. I don't often look at the viewer numbers because sometimes they scare me. No music on YouTube? Yes, deliberately so. No music on YouTube. YouTube doesn't let me play music. I mean, it does, but then my channel is at risk of mass quantities of copyright strikes. But yes, welcome in Team YouTube, welcome in Team Twitch. I hope everybody's good today. Today is mostly going to be a fishing Q&A session, truth be told. Fishing Q&A. Not a Q&A about fishing so much, about, well, within reason, anything, but I haven't planned to do anything particularly aggressive today in terms of testing. We're just going to potter around with fishing, see what it has to offer, because it's a gap in my knowledge personally so far, so I need to fill that gap. You answered my question with knowledge points per week, but I asked about Artisan's Acuity. Is all the Artisan's Acuity we gain after first crafts from knowledge points and patron orders, or do we have other sources like a weekly quest? No, there's nothing that sort of like directly gives you Artisan's Acuity weekly. It's a byproduct of knowledge points still. Exactly like Artisan's Metal was. Artisan's Metal, there was the one quest. Well, it wasn't a quest. You went and spoke to a dude and he just gave you 150 Artisan's Metal. That doesn't exist. Your Artisan's Acuity is going to be gained by gaining knowledge points. 5 at a time, usually. What's the best rod we can use? Well, there's a new crafted fishing rod. Who makes it? Scribes? Do Scribes make the new rod? I think it's Scribes. I think Inscription makes the new rod. Where's Inscription? Enchanting's here. Is Inscription next door? No, you're a book vendor. Where's Inscription? Up here. I'm still trying to remember where everything is. Oh. No, they make the rolling pin, sorry. Who makes the fishing rod then? Oh, it's going to be engineers, isn't it? It's going to be engineers for the rod, of course it is, yeah. That's another weird one as well. The fact that you're technically going to need 600 additional Artisan's Acuity. you want to get your cooking and fishing. You might have to you might have to put cooking and fishing either on the back burner, or either on the back burner or on an alt. I'm not doing a profession shuffle for the purpose of getting my fishing tool. You can jog on. Via fishing directly, though, you don't gain any artisan's Acuity directly by fishing. So what if you don't do main professions? You can't get your best fishing rod or cooking tool. There's no self-sustain way to get your tools via cooking or fishing. Not thought about that. You have to use some of the artisan's Acuity you gain from your main professions.
Hello there.
Bit weird. But yeah, it's going to be engineering then, which is... Brain think it's in the building, isn't it? I'm still pre-coffee. Oh, that's blacksmithing. So you're keeping jewel crafting and leatherworking on my main. My professions on my main characters aren't changing. The reality is for me is I'm just not going to play my mains for a few months. It's gonna feel a little bit weird. But I'm just not going to play my mains for a few months. If I want to be competitive, and it would be remiss of me to have put all this time and effort into figuring everything out to then not be competitive, to sit on the sidelines and watch other people do it. I should at least try and be competitive, which it means to be able to do that. Unfortunately, now you have to do the shuffle on the character that you're going to have the profession on, and so it means I'm going to have to drop professions like literally daily to hunt for artisan's Acuity. Means I can't play my main characters for a while, which is weirdly annoying, but it's my choice at that point. I wonder if it's possible to actually level up engineering enough to get the fishing rod. I mean, technically it probably is. Is there what's the odds of there being an engineer on the beta that's got the fishing rod recipe and could make one for me? Somebody must have already done it, right? Somebody on the leveling servers must already have the ability to do this. Is it this one? No, Fisher Friend, here we go. Kierite Fisher Friend, that's the one. 238 perception. 18 fishing skill. That's your big boy fishing rod. What do you mean maining fishing? Oh, I'm just memeing it up really. Not maining fishing. The fishing rod didn't take metal in Dragonflight. Does the new rod require Acuity? It does. It does. Patron orders are spammable. Doesn't require that much skill and can use concentration and gives Artisan's Acuity and knowledge points. Well, they're not really spammable. You have X amount of them. And they turn up much like world quests do. They are basic. Patron orders are basically world quests for professions. Once you've done it, you've done it. You've done it. Every 3.5 days, you'll get some new ones turn up on your list. Some might last longer than that, meaning that you have longer to complete them once they turn up. But they do all have an expiry time as well. So you see some of them, they turn up and they'll give you 3 days. Some of them you get the week to finish them. Some of them you get literally a matter of hours. Meaning the way you are going to want to hyper optimize your patron orders, unfortunately. This might take you out of the running for... Okay, so I didn't want to talk about this in too much detail just yet, but I guess we're going there anyway. The first week, if you are going to do the profession shuffle, your first week, you are probably not going to be crafting and putting anything on the auction house. You are going to be spending most of your time cycling through every profession, harvesting as much Artisan's Acuity from every profession you can, leveling that profession up, and simultaneously maximizing the amount of patron orders, first time crafts, weekly quests, and whatever else, treasure collection, whatever else you can do. You are basically going to run all 8, well, not even all 8. You are basically going to run all 11 professions, but you're going to run them all on one character. That's in essence how you do it. And then once you've acquired enough Artisan's Acuity, you can stop shuffling the professions and you can then learn your main profession and then actually spend your spec points where you want to spend them and buy your knowledge books and get your tools. So that's in essence what you're going to have to do if you really, 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 really want to hyper optimize. And part of that is to be able to complete as many of these patron orders for all the professions as you possibly can. So it's I mean, this isn't a new concept. People did it at the beginning of Dragonflight. It's just there was an added level in Dragonflight of the fact that you had reputation to deal with as well at the same time. But what it will mean for the vast majority of players is that there is no easy cheese system. And the cheese is significantly more involved than what most people will be willing to deal with, which means 99.9% of the player base will all be able to, like, you know, compete with each other. And there will be that 0.5% of the hardcore goblins that will just carve an advantage out for themselves. It's very difficult to, you know... Gamers will do gamer things. It's just the shuffle's just, you know, more costly now in terms of gold, for sure. This was probably one of the reasons... This was probably additionally one of the reasons why they made the change to the tool shuffle, tool funnel, because you could do it without it costing you anything other than like a bit of time, which is kind of the same as the treasures in a way. So it was of no surprise whatsoever they changed it. Will alt armies take a hit if we can't get the 150 metal quest every week now? Means we would have to actually go out and do all of the profession stuff each week. Yeah, there's no shortcuts with your alt armies. It's not an alt army. I'm going to rename this. It's my mission to get this renamed. It's not an alt army. It's a main army. You are going to need to play each one of those characters like it's your main. Which means you're going to... You can't take shortcuts. There's no room for taking shortcuts. I mean, you can take shortcuts. It'll just take you longer. And the longer it takes you, the less likely there is to be much gold in doing it, you know. It's a race thing, you know. If you're first, you make all the gold. If you're second, you make an awful lot. If you're 500th, there's not really much left for you. And then when you consider the amount of time and effort it's going to take you to level up all of those professions and do all of that, you don't want to take shortcuts. If you take shortcuts by not doing some things some week because they're too much like hard work, if you take those shortcuts, you just have to accept that by the time you get to the finish line, there might not necessarily be the same amount of gold that you were hoping for. But consistency pays off with an alt army. Or an army of mains, should we say. If it sounds far too much like hard work optimizing on one character, don't try and do it on 10. You'll drive yourself into an early grave, honestly. No, you can't use your Artisan's Acuity from alts anymore. No, they've changed that. Am I going to have to just, like, put this on screen? I think it might not be a terrible idea to just take this, Can I do this? The hell? Oh god, label. Oops. There. We just leave that there for today. We'll leave that there today. I will, since it's a solid image, I will, a little bit of, properties, filters. There's the button I'm looking for. Give it a bit of opacity for all of you OLED users out there. Okay. There we go. I suspect it will be a topic of conversation that comes up quite frequently today. That'll do, won't it? That'll do. Alright. Yeah, did we get a conclusion on if there's anybody on the beta that in fact the problem is I don't have 300 Artisan security on this dude, do I? It's a good question. Does this character have any Artisan security on the beta? What's in my bank?
My directive is to serve you.
No, I have 10. How do I have 10? Surely I should have more than 10. Okay, well, I'm not getting the fishing rod then. I'm not getting the fishing rod. I can document the fishing rod. I just can't get it. Auction house? What about the green one? Anybody put the green ones on the auction house? Professional equipment, fishing? Nope. Okay. Alright, not a problem. We'll use the basic one. Let me at least grab a quick screenshot of this. Okay. Let's go do some fishing, shall we? Become too much of a time investment for me personally. I'll just get 2 crafting characters, play around with it, no more alt army, etc. Well, yeah, alt armies, like I said, there's been a bit of a growing misconception of just what it takes to run one. I think the effort was always front loaded with an alt army. It was front loaded so that just getting a bunch of top level characters was the hard work. But of course, Remix, Remix predominantly. Remix and like Prepatch event has made it super duper mega easy for people to get a whole bunch of characters together. But that was the easy bit. Like, quite genuinely, that was the easy bit. Level it, not only the easy bit, but also the cheap bit. The expensive thing is going to... I've been asked this question a few times, so maybe I'll clip this out of the stream or something today. But like, I think I'm giving a little bit mixed messages when it comes to like alt armies and alchemy specifically. Yesterday I did a video on different spec builds for alchemy, which was quite well received actually. By the way, I'm glad people liked that. In that I talked about thaumaturgy and how it's the strongest candidate for an alt army. But I've also said in many times in the past days that alchemy is not as viable for alt armies as it was. And so there's a little bit of confusion there, and I should probably clarify. If you build an alt army, alchemy is still a good candidate, but it's going to be a massive time sink, a huge time sink. You're going to need to level up all of those alchemists. You're going to need to get full tools on all of those alchemists. You are going to need to grind knowledge points on all of those alchemists. You know that people looked at the time investment of doing it once in Dragonflight and cried because it took too long. Imagine doing that multiple times, 10 times, 20 times. The amount of effort that's going to go into maintaining this long term is outrageous. And I just think that most people will tap out really quickly, and they'll tap out before it gets profitable, because you're going to have a front-loaded cost. Leveling all of those professions, leveling alchemy in the first few weeks isn't going to be cheap. You'd easily spend 50k on herbs. Easily 50k on herbs. And if any gold you spend on those alts, you need a perceivable way to make it back as well. And you are only ever, if you're using concentration, going to make it back in very small quantities at a time, right? You might be able to craft 2 flasks a day. Those flasks sell for 1,000 gold each, and you're making 20% profit. You're making 200 gold profit on each flask. You're making 400 gold a day. You know, that's like a world quest, right? Yet you've invested 50k and leveled a profession. Like, it's going to be a long time, even if you start on day 1, before that alt army actually gets to the point where it's recuperated its cost and starts making you something. Completely ignoring the amount of time that you're going to have to spend doing it. What you're going to have to do and hope is that there are significant other things that you can use that alt army for. Maybe there's a world event similar to something like the Feast in Dragonflight, which could be a good place for you to plonk your characters down. Maybe you can farm rares or cosmetics, or you're going to need to come up with other ways to utilize that army of alt characters more than just log on, press a transmute, log off. That's fine, but that's an end of expansion advantage. Early days when everything's hyper expensive is arguably the worst time to set up your alt army. You should level them. That's what you should do. Maybe you shouldn't worry too much about the specific crafting professions, because they're very hard, very expensive, very time consuming to level up. But you should really 100% be looking at leveling them to 80. Don't need to, but you should be planning for when you do. 11.1 will turn up. and something will require you to be level 80. And if you've left all of your 20, 30 characters at level 70, and then all of a sudden need to magically get them all to 80 in a week, you're going to cry. So log them all in. Build rested experience. Chip away, do some easy, quick experience stuff weekly. Make sure you're keeping them up to speed. But it's a huge time investment for what probably won't be a huge amount of early gold. You might be able to push a few of those characters to do like busy work for you, but then you're going to need them on other accounts. An alt army, but spread out on multiple accounts, can often be more useful. Something like unraveling or milling or prospecting. These are things that you can do, but you can designate other characters on other accounts to be doing it in the background whilst you're playing your main, or whilst you're leveling another character, or whatever you're doing. There's way more to it than log in, craft Dracothis, log out. Way more to it. Will you include approximate gain of Acuity during week 1 and week 2 in the guide? Well, it's kind of there. It's kind of there. But because it's entirely linked to knowledge. So it's all there. There's nothing that you do that specifically gives you Artisan's Acuity. Other than patron orders. But patron orders is patron orders. Do patron orders. The amount of Acuity you will have will be directly linked to the amount of knowledge points you've gained, so you got to remember that they're kind of quite synergistically connected. Knowledge, Acuity, it's basically the same thing. You get one, you get the other. I'm going to do engineering, sell parts for other engineers that want to make the mount, be rich. There's a lot of people that are going that route. There's a lot of people that are going the mount crafting route. I've seen. There's been an ungodly amount of chatter about it in the Discord of recent weeks. There's a lot of people going that route. One thing I would say is if that is your plan, try and think a bit bigger than just that mount. Is there a way for you to go larger with that operation? Is there some additional extracurricular activities that you could be doing on your engineer that would increase the value proposition of it? Because you're putting all your eggs in one basket if you're going hard on mounts. Especially considering we have no idea how much people are going to be willing to pay for that thing yet. Especially considering it's just a reskin. It's not even a reskin, it's a recolor. It's a recolor of a mount that's actually quite easy to get. So the 3.1 million is literally the ceiling. They're never going for more than that. The only way that that mount will ever sell for more than 3.1 mil is if the permit is on a really disgustingly long cooldown on that vendor, and it proves to be a absolute nightmare to shuffle for. Now, you can shuffle for the permit, or pilfer for the permit, whatever you want to call it, but but it's probably the most RNG thing you could possibly do. You'll either get one really quickly. What was that, a dogfish? What's a sanguine dogfish? Is that a new one? It's a new fish. I'm slowly collecting all the fish. I need to pair this with cooking as well, actually, don't I? Because I know that these two are going to... I'm going to go, what is that fish for? And the answer will unanimously be cooking. I did find some cool stuff yesterday, though, quickly with fishing. I found a soaked journal entry, which just straight up increases your skill by 10, up to a maximum of 300, which I thought was quite cool. I also I also considered that these are going to be most valuable when you're at 290 fishing and it slows down to a grind. That, you know what? I'll use these at the end, right? I'll save these until I get to a point where it's a pain in the ass, and then I'll get 10 fishing skill. Don't do it at the beginning when you get a skill every time you throw your rod in the water. I wonder why fishing is 300 this expansion. They've done a lot with fishing by the looks of things. I kind of knew that they changed it a whole bunch. I'd just never really given it any time of day. I thought, what better thing to do on a Friday whilst we talk about Artisan's Acuity all day. Just got my first Dark Moon card. 115 fishing skill. Yeah, I've had a couple of these crusty Dark Moon cards. Open them up. River bass. I want to find those treasure ones. These bloody perch ones, though. There's where is it? There's one of them that had some benefit to this. I can't remember what it was. Bloody perch. Throw this fish back into the water and gain a stack of bloody chum, attracting sanguine dogfish to your location for 5 minutes. This effect increases your odds by 10% and stacks up to 10 times. Movement will cause your scent to be lost and cancel the effect. So in theory, if I use 10 of those, does it give me a 100% chance to get a sanguine dogfish? Presume it does, doesn't it? And I should probably be stacking my perception on these. I need to fish up a golden gill trout. Fishing up this gave me a direct fishing buff as well. Maybe the items need to be saved for the Derby event. Yeah, that's something else I haven't looked into yet. But I'm aware it's a thing. I got one of these Awards 1 Merrill Derby mark. And I assume that's got something to do with it. Like I said, I've not really paid much attention to fishing so far. When you're talking about maining one profession, does that mean that you don't get everything covered on the old army? Well, you've got to consider every character that you have a profession on. You've got to consider playing it to the utmost of its ability. You're gonna there's no shortcuts. This is probably my favourite phrase when talking about the war within professions. There's no shortcuts. You can take shortcuts, but you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. You can't take shortcuts. Dragonflight gave you the ability to take shortcuts because of how inspiration worked. Without inspiration and with concentration instead, there's no room for shortcuts. You have to get your profession to 100 out of 100. You have to get your blue tools. And you are ultimately going to have to get those to quality 5. There's not really anywhere because this is how they've tuned it. They've tuned it so that most recipes, if you want to industrialize them, if you want to mass produce them, you have to do all of those things. You can't, if you take a shortcut, you then will no longer be able to guarantee it at quality 3. You're missing a tool, or you've only got 90 skill, or, you know, you can't take the shortcuts. So this is why I'm trying to get across the fact that it's significantly more effort to get an alt army up and running. Because any shortcut you take is likely to put you either with the inability to mass produce something at all, or it's going to price you out of the market because you might not have the same amount of resourcefulness or the multi-craft, or, you know, there's many reasons. People, you know, didn't have to worry about hyper optimizing too much because inspiration basically every time it procced you won and you were just good. It's not quite the same in the new expansion. Everything's been far more finely tuned. Oh, these cursed ghoulfishes are quite an interesting one as well. When you fish one of these, you get this debuff. The only way to get rid of the debuff is either to throw the fish back into the water, or I guess you have to go put this fish in your bank or something, maybe? Because isn't there a cooking recipe? Then also uses these cursed ghoulfish things. I saw it somewhere. Where is it? Ghoulfish Delight? Yeah, here we go. A prepared ghoulfish. If you spend at least 10 seconds eating, you become well fed and gain 30 Kazongar fishing skill and 30 perception for an hour. But how do you get a prepared goldfish? How's that different from my normal one? Just cook it, I guess? Or do you... You just fillet it? You need 5 of them to do it. Maybe if you... Because it's got unique 5 as well. I reckon you have to, when you get one of these, you have to go put it in your bank. I reckon that's... Or just wait it out. You wait it out or go put it in the bank? If I put it in the bank, will it get the debuff off? Finding a way to remove the cursed ghoulfish from your inventory will cause the fish curse to fade. So if I go put it in the bank... Because I'm going to need 5 of them. Then I can... I could just toss it back in and get 15 perception for 15 minutes. But if you process it with cooking... This is quite clever. See, this is the thing, right? There's some thought gone into this.
I have an extended supply of goods.
If I put it here...
My directive has been
fulfilled. I've still got the debuff. Warband Bank? Oh, I can't because it's soulbound. Reagent Bank?
My thanks for your patron.
Okay. You might just need to wait it out. That means it's going to take you 25... You got 25 minutes of downtime. Okay, I've just realised that's quite kiss curse, isn't it? Because you're going to get 25 minutes of downtime. Because you can't fish when you've got this debuff. But you need 5 of them to fillet the thing, which then presumably gives you a prepared ghoulfish. Then you throw a simple stew at it. Oh, but you get 5 portions, so that will actually then potentially give you 5 hours of fishing with increased skill and perception. It's quite clever. Can you decurse it off? Good question. Is it classed as a curse? I mean, it claims it's a curse, maybe.
My directive is to serve you.
Either way, I think it's quite clever.
My directive has been fulfilled.
Just going to grumble about Blizzard making everything more complicated. I don't want complicated, I want fun. Anti-bot mechanic. Also, kind of. Kind of, but not really, because the buff's only for 5 minutes. If I've learned anything in my time, one thing I've learned is that bots don't really care about time. They have a lot of it. In fact, they borderline have infinite time, so it doesn't really matter to them too much. Would you still suggest using alts for cooldown crafts on low skill stuff, at least to get some value out of mop remix characters? There's not There's not anything... There's no easy win. Let's put it that way. I'm pretty much at the point of believing there's no real easy win with alt armies. Anything you do is going to require a lot of time and a lot of effort. And if it's going to take a lot of time and it's going to take a lot of effort, you might as well do the best thing. Which is just forget that they're alts. Pretend they're just mains, right? Give yourself 3 jewel crafters. Spec in 3 different directions on those jewel crafters. Make 5 blacksmiths and hyper focus on 5 different pieces of gear for crafting. Play as many alts as you are willing to play to the utmost. Oh, golden gill trout. That's the one that gives me the buff. And spend some time researching and trying to find things that you could also do with those characters to generate some revenue when they're ramping up, when they're in their unprofitable stage still. And I would be very careful aggressively leveling professions at the beginning of an expansion, just because materials are so expensive. Most people cry about the cost of leveling a single profession on a single character. The thought of doing that multiple times, I don't think people really quite realize how expensive it could be. So, yeah. My thoughts are a little bit mixed. I know I've got loads of time. I do this for a living. I have the ability to play the game 12 hours a day if I want. And I'm in the luxurious position where if I do, I can even monetize it. But most people aren't in that boat. Most people have regular jobs and commitments and only have a limited amount of playtime. And if you do only have a limited amount of playtime, multiplying the effort needed to run multiple professions on as many characters as you have, I find it hard to suggest. It really is a strategy for the degenerates, honestly. At the end of the day, it's your time. You do as you please. I just think it's going to be significantly more time and effort and cost than what it will be worth, short term at least anyway. Oh, flipping hell, another fish. First cast. Should ignore these. Probably these festering pools, you probably want to ignore these until you have made your... You make some of these, and then you've got 5 hours, and in that 5 hours, you can just throw back any fish you get from these, I suppose. $12 rookie numbers. Yeah, sometimes it feels that way. Do you think vial making will bring significant profit? My main will be flasks, so this might be a nice supplementary thing to do. Trying to be self-sufficient is always a cost. You know, look at big businesses. Big businesses do the exact same thing, right? It's a pretty significant business strategy. The more stuff you can bring in-house, the more profit you can often extract overall. But there's more time and effort in bringing everything in-house. This is why companies outsource stuff, because it's often more effective short-term to outsource it. It's the same theory with materials. Buying materials off the auction house. People do it because it's a quicker way to get the materials. They pay a little bit of a premium. They pay the price for somebody else to go and get those herbs in the first place, or materials in the first place. They pay them for their time, and then you take whatever you spent and you make something, and then you add a little bit on and you sell it to the next person. So if you're going to do flasks, yeah, figuring out a way to get a supply of vials or a more competitive price is a good move. I see the news clip at the top of the screen. Can you explain the impact on this for somebody who is a casual player that plays 1 or 2 characters max? Zero impact on you whatsoever. zero impact on you at all. The slightest of slight impacts is that you should expect everything to be a little bit more expensive for a little bit longer. This is the aspect of this change that you can't really ever quantify, because you've never had the ability to see both scenarios, because of course this change has happened before the game's even gone live. But what this will do is slow down. It will slow down people's ability to like max build something. It will slow down people's ability to get guaranteed quality 3 or guaranteed quality 5. And in slowing it down for most people will mean that the prices will stay higher for longer. So actually, you know what the really funny thing is? This, more so than anything else, is a huge buff to herbalism and mining. This is a monster of a buff to herbalism and mining. This means herb prices are likely to stay higher for longer. Herb prices, ore prices, material prices in general. It will mean that the people that do disgustingly degenerate things to still try and grab that early advantage will have less competition, and so less inclination to crash the prices as fast, because prices stay higher. It really is a, you know, in politic terms, this is rich get richer. Rich get richer, and nobody else really notices the difference because it's so minor on their day to day. Fishing, I see. Don't reveal the thing. Jush. Wait for the silly debuff to go away. Honest opinion on the 3-day early start, on how important it is for professions. Oh, it's massive. It's massive. Anything you do in those 3 days, debuff, toss the fish back in. Oh no, I want to make the food. I need 5 of them. I need to make the food. Or I want to make the food. I haven't leveled cooking, mind, but I want 5 of them to cook the food. Oh, flipping hell. First cast again. 5-minute debuff. That's 3. What did I need with cooking to make this thing? I haven't leveled cooking. I'm probably never going to actually do this, but... Oh, I need 10 of the coins to get the recipe even. Oh. I've not gone and visited this vendor yet. Well, maybe it's a good reason to go and say hi. Yeah, 3-day early access is huge. Even if you do nothing but level a few characters to 80, then that means you still have a few level 80 characters whilst everybody... And you can be doing whatever was restricted in the early access period when everybody else is frantically trying to level their characters. There's zero feasible way you can let some people play the game 4 days early and not let them have an advantage. It's futile. It's ridiculous to believe that those players won't have an advantage. You gave them the game 4 days early. Of course they're going to have an advantage. Absolutely. And people will squeeze that advantage out from whatever they can do in the first 4 days. I still got a bloody perch, actually. So, how does that work? Well, I'll claim bloody perches from here all the same. The stuff restricted in the early access period, what things? We actually don't know, right? I've had to address this nearly every single day on stream, but we don't know. Blizzard hasn't said. Blizzard has not categorically said until we get a blue post, everything is hyperbole. Everything is guesswork. Nobody knows. There's been nothing official as of yet to indicate what they're going to restrict and what they're not. There's been snippets taken from very old interviews. That's really about it. And I'm not really overly convinced by a 9-month-old interview as proof or source, you know? It doesn't matter as far as I'm concerned. Whatever they give us in early access, you do it for 4 days. And then that means you are 4 days ahead of everybody that didn't have early access. It's still an advantage. This debuff doesn't seem to actually do anything. I'm still able to fish things. Claims that's incapable of catching anything, but I'm still catching things. If I buy a WoW token for gold, can I then use the currency in the gear store? No. Digital only. Digital only. From beta testing, it's unlimited. Wait, hang on. With first crafts and treasures and renown, but I wonder what is the weekly point we can get. It was 15 in Dragonflight. Do you have an idea of how many it would be in the War Within? The items you find in the world from things like rubble and purses and chests aren't just 1 knowledge point. It can be 2 or 3 or even 4. So the treasures you get, the knowledge point items you get from treasures each week. There's 2 of them for each profession. I have seen some variance in how many knowledge points they give as well, but only by profession. The same profession ones are always the same. The item's always the same. They did change some of them. If you maybe have a couple of them in your bank that are different, they did change some of them 6 weeks ago. They all started out being 1 knowledge point each. Then they changed some of them to give you 2 knowledge points. I've never seen any from treasures that give you any more than 2, though. But if you've had them be 3 or 4, I'd be intrigued to see a screenshot. It'd give me good reason to go test. You think we should hold on to the herbs or ore that we gather until full release? It's hard to know when the price is going to be at its best. Sell them when you can sell them for a price you're happy selling them for. Whether that be straight away or whether that be in a few days' time. My guess is as good as your guess. The 4 was from a disenchant in enchanting. Oh, okay. Well, ignore okay, that's a completely different system then. That's a completely different system. That's not what I was referring to. Ignore me then. Was the profession tool funnel change discussed? Not at all. What change? What change? it's up in the corner for a reason. Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit today. Oh, okay, now I'm getting the no fish are hooked. Oh, another golden gill. We'll take one of those. Still only skill 102. What is it? Is it 100 and... When... I should check the journal, actually, shouldn't I? Because what they have done as well is they've made it so that fishing in the different zones is... recommended skill of 225 to go to Hallerfall. Recommended skill of 375 before you go to Ashgahet. And you may notice you only get 300 here anyway. So 375 is going to mean that you need some from over here. I've only got +5 because I've only got a stupid strong fishing pole. The big boy fishing pole is 18. But you're going to have to do quite a lot of fishing, I suspect, before you can even get to Ashgahet to do any fishing, because you're going to need to level up your angler thread. You're going to need probably 50 plus angler threads before you're even going to be able to go to Ashgahet. This is another thing that you might do in early access. Just get your fishing out of the way. Just get it done. Huh. Free leather. Don't mind if I do. Yoink. Mantheus does just want to have fun, indeed. It's why we're fishing. Fishing on a Friday. Yeah, one thing you can probably say categorically is I can't imagine bots are going to pay for early access. So, if you want to make some money with fishing, do it in the first 4 days of early access, in before bots get there. Do you get XP from fishing? It's a good question. I don't know, actually. I've only done it on this character who's level 80, so I'm not actually sure. That's actually quite a good question. You can fish in Ashgahet from level 1. Source, I'm the only person in the world to have completed the fishing derby. Has nobody else done it on the beta? Have you claimed it every week? I know you did it like super early on. Oh, a shore treasure one. This is cash monies. This is cash monies. We're going to wait for this debuff to go. And then we're going to stack our buffs. Cash monies in this one. Nobody's going to be able to do it. The profession is bricked. Oh. Oh, okay. That's going to be fun then. Whispering Stargazer fish prevents anybody from completing it. You have to hand in one of every fish or something, do you, for it? I don't even know. Like I said, I've not looked into it. I'm going by very... you probably DM'd me a bunch of stuff when you did it last time. I should probably just check my own notes, but... Fishing hat still doesn't have an equipment slot. Sad. Yeah, it seems like a thing they probably should have done, but... Fishing will make a fortune. It's not part of the thaumaturgy recycling system. What's the benefit of it not being in the recycling system? Surely that means the fish will just stack up and up and up. What have I missed there? I've clearly missed some in. Right, is this debuff gone? It has. You can extend this up to 5 minutes. Does this buff stack with this buff? 45, 45. Who knows? Let's find out, shall we? Gain 10 fishing for 30 seconds. There's going to be some cool weak auras or add-ons for fishing as well. Keeping track of like all of your buffs and when you should do stuff. Hey, crusty Dark Moon card. It's in the recycling system. Mats in theory will normalize in pricing, whereas fish will not be part of it. Prices will remain high as there's no other source than 2 fish. Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Oh, these don't stack, which is an interesting twist. I've got 3 of them. That's up to 33 fishing skill whenever I want to use it. Well, historically, what tends to happen with fish is they just stack up and up and up and up and up and are botted or farmed at a considerably faster rate than anybody ever needs them, meaning their price ends up tanking into the floor. I would kind of go by the theory that because they're not in the... well, my take on it would probably be the opposite, that because they're not in the thaumaturgy recycling system, they don't have the same chance to normalize in price. I think that normalization of price is what will help keep some things afloat for longer. Because as long as there's a demand for something, people will shuffle away. Yesterday on the launch test, I received 5 Dark Moon cards on my scribe within 10-15 minutes, even an ace. 4 cards were from the same deck, 1 was a dupe. Yeah, I'm not sure how they're gonna do this inscription thing. I've not tested drop rates, but from what I've been told and from what I've seen, the drop rates are not bad. Or should I say that Dark Moon cards drop relatively frequently, which might mean, for the first time ever, that Dark Moon cards, even at launch, are not like crazy money. They historically were only crazy money at the beginning of an expansion because they were heavily tied to the price of herbs, and they were tuned so that you needed a bajillion herbs to make 1 card. But now they've made the decision to truly make them farmable. I think they'll be flooding the auction house within practically minutes. I'm not convinced they will be more than 30k gold a deck, and even that I think is probably high. There's also a perception value here. You know, I think I look at 30k and I'm like, oh, that's cheap. Obviously, to some people, 30k to buy a trinket is still mental money, but that's because I'm used to dealing with like first to market 250k sort of prices. I should probably just start fishing in these regular pools for building up my fishing skill. I'm deliberately trying to find the treasure ones though, because I want to see what stuff. I want to hit as many of the treasure ones as possible so I can find out as much about what they contain on the beta where I am not competing for them. Unless all of you also running around doing fishing, which if you are, stop it. Is it even worth having so many ults to siphon the tools to our mains now? Well, you got to use your ults for their more intended purpose of giving you access to more legitimate profession slots. The disposable Artisan Acuity profession gear shuffle was, you know, it was a cheese mechanic. It wasn't the reason you leveled them in the first place. Ignorance would have been blissful for many people on that one. You know, if people never knew about that, they'd have never even thought about it, sort of thing. It's why sometimes I am in two minds whether to report on these things. Hang on, what's this? What's this? What's this? If you have early access and will you be selling herbs and ore? Oh, no idea. I don't do farming. I don't do farming. Farming's for farmers. Pressure? What pressure? Pressure's for tires. Farming? What farming? Didn't happen in Dragonflight because the special fish. Bots got more money in gathering, so they focused on that. Yeah, bots just go where the money's at. It's rarely on fish, but I always see this more so on Team NA for some reason. I don't know what it is about Team NA, but they love their fishing bots. Oh boy, do they love their fishing bots. Team EU, on the other hand, they tend to focus more so on other things. I don't know why. Okay, I'm not finding any of these special pools, really, am I? They're probably... The treasure pools, I'm going to assume, are rare spawns of the normal pools. Meaning if you do what I'm doing now and don't refresh the pools that are there, you might not get many of the treasure ones. Maybe I should just farm. Maybe I should just methodically work through them. Which two professions are most profitable? Fishing and cooking. Or if you really want to min-max, go first aid and archaeology. That's the win. That's what I'm doing. Yep. That's me. No, honestly, there's no answer to that question. There's genuinely no answer to that question. It's the question, it's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you make more money? Well, start off by being really rich. That's a good start. Then, yeah. Honestly, this is the best thing about the beginning of an expansion. Doesn't matter what you do. Trust me. Trust me when I say, doesn't matter which profession. Pick the ones you enjoy. Pick the ones that look fun to you and do those. You got to try really hard to not make gold at the beginning of an expansion. You got to try really hard. Because at the beginning of the expansion, there's no market prices for anything. Nobody knows the value of things. Nobody knows if something's rare or not. Nobody has any clue of anything. The fact that you're here and you're watching this now means that you're you're miles ahead of most other people. If you're paying attention to YouTube videos, if you're paying attention to streamers, if you're reading up Wowhead posts, you're miles ahead of most people. So then just pick the professions that look good to you. Pick the ones that look fun. Be selfish. This is one thing I always try and promote. Be selfish. Pick the professions that benefit you. You know, if you're a paladin tank, take blacksmithing. Why? Because you make your own gear. Win. Right? If you make your own gear and then you have other people, you know, sell anything that you have spare to other people, How much should you charge for concentration? Well, how much do you have it how much concentration do you have left? Make your own gear, and then whatever you have left, sell it for whatever you can sell it for. It's very difficult to not make gold at the beginning. The only way you don't make gold at the beginning of an expansion is if you are too wasteful with how you spend it. That's your smartest move. Is don't worry too much about how to make it, because anything you craft and sell for the most part is going to be profitable at the beginning. But switch your attention and get good at hunting down cheap deals. Keep your eye on the price of materials that benefit your professions. Keep your eye on them for a few days. See if they go up, see if they go down. Read on WoW economy posts. Oh, maybe not necessarily always read up on WoW economy posts. While I have, yes, definitely spent my fair share of time over on the WoW economy subreddit, it tends to be, how do you put this politely? Basic? Do NPC craft orders require certain quality? They do, yeah. They will often request quality. And that's going to make it a prime candidate for your concentration in the early weeks, since you'll most often need to do one of two things. Use your concentration to reach the quality, or buy higher quality materials to reach the quality. Because you're not going to have the skill to do all of them for free naturally. This is why shuffling professions is going to get very expensive very quickly. But is why I don't object to it as a playstyle too much, because you're at least engaging with the economy. I'm not particularly a fan of it from the fact that you now have to do everything on a single character. Meaning, if you've got any history with your crafting professions, then boo-hoo, you're shit out of luck. Which was sort of my initial argument with the treasures way back when, that forcing people to feel like they need to drop their professions in an RPG is not the right play, in my opinion. But it's about as fair a system as we can get this late in the day. Not really forcing, to be fair. It depends how you look at it. Oh, spectacular rainbow fish. Is this a new one? Depends how you look at it. I often will make the comparison to a form of content that is more well understood by most players. Let's say that for you to step into the mythic raid, you have to drop half your transmog collection, right? Do you think people would be happy with that? Do you think people who had collected their transmog over the last 10 years would be happy if they found out that if they wanted to do something to the best of their ability, they'd have to give up half their transmog collection? If you wanted to be the most competitive, you have to give up 5-10 years, like up to 20 years of progress from somewhere else. That's kind of the way I look at it from the perspective of being forced to drop your professions. Of course, you don't have to, but you then also have to be accepting of the fact that you are not going to be able to be as competitive as other people. Just like you're not forced to go do the mythic raid. But if you want the best gear, what you need to do, sort of thing. So and especially I tend to think that having from my perspective, having past expansions expertise in your professions shouldn't give you much of an advantage, but it definitely shouldn't be a disadvantage, right? That's the tricky point with it for me personally. That I tend to feel that you're at a disadvantage because you've played that character and you care about the progress that you've made on that character. Feels weird. And of course, you can just roll a new character which you don't have all of that history on. And you can do your profession shuffle, and you can rotate, and you can do the degenerate things. Of course you can do all of that on an alt. But then I'm going to have to go back and do most of it again on my main, because I want all of the recipes, and my main is my main character. People forget this is an RPG. It's a role-playing game. And to be competitive in a role-playing game, like, I don't know. It's a kiss-curse situation. They should just let you freeze and store an entire profession. Not only the few quest rewards like now. Slap a month cooldown on it, 1,000,000 gold cost. Yeah, I don't really know what there's a couple of suggestions floating around of how they could, like, actually nerf the profession shuffle. But there is a limit. Like, you need goblins to do degenerate things. This is what most people, like, this is the undersung hero of all of this, is that what players don't necessarily realize is that you need those sweaty goblins to do absolutely disgusting degenerate things. You know why? Because otherwise there'd be nothing on your auction house. I've already run the maths, and quality 3 potions and flasks are basically not going to exist. Right? Quality 3 potions and flasks are already in a situation where they just won't exist. There'll be some on your auction house, but I shit you not, they are going to be outrageously expensive. And they are absolutely prime candidates for being 4 times the price on reset day than they will any other point in the week. And then all that happens is people turn around and they complain that everything's too expensive. Look what happened in Shadowlands. Oh, legendaries are too expensive. Well, yeah, because they made it fucking impossible and super duper mega costly for most people to level them up themselves. And so they're reliant on a handful of people to put in huge quantities of gold, time and effort to produce them. And of course those goblins, the very, very small selection of goblins that did do it to the 10th degree, charged a premium for the luxury. You need a bunch of people. You need the sweaty goblins to do sweaty things to help drive the prices down on everything. Make everything cheaper for everybody else. This is why if you nerf too much of it, you're actually not fixing the overall problem. You're fixing one problem by causing another one. And it's kind of why I don't really know what the ultimate solution is to this. And there isn't really an ultimate solution to this. You've gotta let some players do degenerate things. If you want to be able to go to the auction house and buy your potions, your flasks, your enchants, your catch-up gear, your whatever, and you don't want it to cost you an arm and a leg, somebody has to have taken the time and effort and often the risk to make that thing, to make it available for you in the first place. People hated it when you had to be self-sufficient. People hated it, and it's why we've moved away from that. I used the example the other day of BFA. Back in BFA, when people had to level the professions to max to make their best in slot piece of crafted gear, and not only did they have to make their own piece of best in slot crafted gear, If it rolled with the wrong secondary stats, you had to put it in the scrapper and start again. And then to remake it, you needed to stand there shuffling 10 million Tide Spray linen braces again. Players hated that. That was the self-sufficient route. People hated that. They were like, why can I please not buy this thing off the auction house? Why can't one of those sweaty goblins make this for me? Then they made Shadowlands. And they made the process of making the best in slot stuff super aggressively expensive and difficult to do. And then everybody hated it because it costs too much. Like, in a way that in a way they can't win, which is quite amusing, but you kind of have to let some people do degenerate things. And the reality for a lot of people is, your best solution is ignore all of this. Let the sweaty goblins do sweaty things. And in a gold mine, in a gold rush, sell shovels. Also known as herbs and ore. Right? Herbs and ore. If you want none of this stress, if you want none of this min-max, if you want none of that sweaty behavior, pick up herbalism and mining. And you'll make a packet of gold. You'll make plenty. Ooh, what was that? Dasher's treasure. Oh, we've had a second one of those now. Nice. You'll make loads of gold just picking stuff up off the floor. Because those sweaty goblins ain't going to have time to farm it themselves. They're going to be too busy shuffling professions. You need 10 of those for the cursed fish recipe. Oh, the coin things. Yeah. Yeah, I'm at 2. I'm at 2. Sweaty goblins make everybody else happy. The goblins are happy because they make the gold. The buyers are happy because it's low effort, and Blizzard is happy because they're selling millions of WoW tokens to them all. Yeah, it's a win-win-win. If you nerf the sweaty goblins from being able to be too sweaty, you're actually causing another problem. Which you can only buy on Saturday. Oh, will the vendor only sell you stuff when the derby's on? Isn't that on Sundays? Stranglethorn fishing competition was always a Sunday, wasn't it? I can't remember. Oh, he only actually spawns on Saturday. Oh, okay, that's interesting. I am learning new stuff. Whoa. What are you? Go away. Get off my fish. Oh, I'll let you have that one. It's a pool I don't want anyway. What's the optimal way to shuffle? Oh, no clue. Truth be told, I have not looked into like the deep degen shuffle all that much. It's one of those, I know the process. I haven't tested doing the process to put exact numbers to it or to get video footage of doing it or anything. But I'm pretty well aware of what the process is. The process is simple. You pick 2 professions and you do everything you possibly can with those 2 professions to gain as much Artisan's Acuity. And once you have milked them dry, you drop them and you pick up 2 more. And you rinse and repeat until you've worked your way through all of the professions. And then 3 days later, you do it all again when the patron orders reset. And then 3 days later, you do it all again when the weeklies reset. It's not an endeavor for the faint of heart. And it could cost you a pretty penny to do it. Recipes you buy from Lorendal that you buy with Acuity, are they warbound or soulbound? soulbound, I believe. Pretty much anything you buy from a vendor like that is soulbound. I can't possibly imagine they'd be warbound. I've not checked recently, but I'm pretty sure they've always been soulbound. Ultimate Degen is then doing that on 9 tunes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now, I know one of my previous comments was if you want to ignore all of this. If you want to ignore all of this, just pick up Herbalism and Mining. Also value to doing it on Herbalism and Mining characters. Because, of course, they need their tools too. They need their knowledge points too. But, of course, at that point, all you're really doing is optimizing your gold per hour. When the argument quickly becomes just, instead of doing the sweaty degen shuffle on a herb or miner character, how about you actually just farm for another hour? You'll be fine. You'll make more that way anyway. A wider reason for you testing out? I just haven't done any fishing on the beta. And it's much easier for me to play Q&A when I'm doing something methodical like fishing than it is if I'm trying to desperately pay attention to like make a leveling guide for a profession or something. I kind of feel as if I'm ignoring chat. Should be warbound. No point in making it soulbound if the currency to buy it is transferable. The currency isn't transferable. That's the point. The currency is soulbound as well. Artisan's Acuity is soulbound. This is the premise for a lot of the discussion recently. That because Artisan's Acuity is soulbound, the things you then use Artisan's Acuity on, e.g. buying recipes or crafting gear, profession gear, that should also theoretically then be soulbound because of it. Spend most of the first time of an expansion chasing item level, pay whatever goblins ask for their flasks, then over the expansion get into professions to make that gold for next time. Yeah, it's whatever floats your boat. I've never been a huge I've never been a massive fan of chasing item level. I got bored of that treadmill years ago. I'm tempted to do a little bit more of it though in the War Within, considering there's things like M0s are going to be a little bit more flexible. It will at least provide me with reasonable gear. But I've lost the passion for chasing item level, but instead I enjoy collecting, playing with professions and all of that. See if I can find another one of these treasure ones. There's occasionally be one lurking around this side of the around this side somewhere. I'm wondering if their spawn location is relatively fixed for these treasure ones, or whether they are just rare spawns of regular fishing pools. Now I can't find anything interesting. Maybe we just fish whatever we can find. M0 drops were nerfed down a track compared to Dragonflight Season 4. Oh, well, I've got less inclination to do it even then, so I don't know. I thought M0s were at the right sort of point, personally, but wasn't the difficulty of an M0 tuned to be that of like an old school +10? So if they've nerfed, they're basically LFR nows. Oh, I don't know. I can't keep up with what they're doing with dungeons. All I know is that I don't particularly enjoy Mythic Plus. I'm happy to go up as far as I need to go before I start getting timers and affixes and that sort of rubbish, and then I stop. I'm not about all of that rubbish. Daily lockouts now as well? Okay, they really have killed them, haven't they? Not doing a full sweep of M0s daily. Less gear. I'm not doing it 7 times as much for less of a reward. You can get bent. I'll put that on the category of stuff I'm not going to do then. GG. M0 Wall Tour to get the refulgent crystals. Could be. Those juicy disenchants. Easy cash. The jump from heroics to M0s is gargantuan now, kind of forcing people to do delves. Is that why they're doing it? Is this a forced engagement mechanic? Surely not. M0 is a veteran 4 out of 8, but good for the initial gearing if you like the endgame stuff. Okay. I've had this discussion previously, and I know I don't share the same opinion to most people, but I am still very strong of the opinion that the whole gearing system is so convoluted. Like, so overly complex for something that doesn't need to be. Whatever was wrong with kill boss drop loot. I know I'm old school in that perspective, and I know people don't agree with me, but boy oh boy, I think the current itemization system at endgame is just way too many knobs and dials and buttons, and it's way too much like hard work. Now, there is a treasure one round here as well. I found a treasure one there. No, now it's spawned us it's a stupid one. Like I said, my opinion on endgame gearing doesn't really count, because I don't do it. It's like me trying to tell PvPers how to do arena. It's just pointless. Has to be convoluted to stop degen behavior. People farming +2s for max item level loot. Well, that's always kind of been a little bit of my problem with Mythic Plus as a full stop. I've another hot take that I know people don't agree with me with, but I've never believed that Mythic Plus should give gear anywhere even remotely close to that of the raid. I cannot see the logic of putting 5 people together and killing bosses as being anywhere near as heroic as putting 20 people together and killing bigger bosses. Why are those two even remotely comparable? Crowbar, I feel Mythic Plus has always been a crowbar engagement mechanic. Sure, people enjoy it, and people have a lot of fun progressing with Mythic Plus. But I genuinely don't think I don't think it naturally fits the RPG style of play. It's, you know, the arcade mode. M plus is almost mandatory because people want you to have the gear before the raid, even if you go to raid for the gear. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't enjoy Mythic Plus as a gameplay activity, so maybe I am quite heavily biased because of that opinion. But I find it weird that you can just repeatedly chain kill bosses in a dungeon. I don't know. It should, you know, it's a step up. You have solo content, then you do it in a small group, and then you do it in a big group. Surely doing it in the biggest group should reward the best rewards. And I know you can argue that, you know, at the very, very top end it does, but it's so muddy in the middle. That it kind of puts people in a position where if they are not top end game mythic raiders, you're then in this muddy section in the middle where you kind of feel as if you should be going and doing mythic plus. You can't just be like a normal and heroic raider anymore. If you're sat in normal and heroic world, you are going to very quickly feel obliged to be spending half your time in mythic plus dungeons as well. If you're happy with that, fine, you do you, but I think it's a weird gameplay loop. Always have done. Who are you? What are you doing? A survival hunter? Oh, you are lost. You are lost. They've done a good job of finally separating PvP from the PvE pillars. Oh, I mean, that was a problem for years, wasn't it? That was crazy. Anybody seen the documentary on Backstreet Boys and NSYNC? How their manager basically ripped them off for $1 billion. Quite funny. And then was convicted for running a Ponzi scheme or something. Sorry, spoiler alert if people haven't seen it, but... I haven't seen the documentary, but I know of the story. Right, we're at 129 with fishing. We seem to have very slowly chipped our way there. I wonder if we can go try doing some fishing in another zone, see if it presents any different rewards. There's 20 different fish I believe you're able to catch. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 of the different variations. I'm still missing some fish. Makes me think that the other zones, there might be other fish that are only possible in other zones. Or I need bigger and better skill. Is there no water? Why is it saying... Hang on. Oh, the Ringing Deeps. Oh, Isle of... Oh, it shows actually. Pools found in this zone. Glimmer Pool, Shore Treasures... Stargazer Swarms, Festering Rot Pool, Calm Surface Ripple, River Base Pool, and Bloody Perch Swarms. What new do we find in the Ringing Deeps? Angle Seeker Torrent and Floating Deep Treasure. Ooh! A few of the basic ones. Recommended skill 125. Maybe let's go have a little look in the Ringing Deeps then, shall we? See if we can find any of these Angle Seeker or Floating Deep treasures. What about when we get to Hallowfall? Surface Ripple, Glimmer Pool, Angle Seeker Torrent, Floating Deep Treasures, but the new ones would be Infused Ichor Spill, Whispers of the Deep, Royal Ripple, Blood in the Water, and then finally Ashgahet. Swarm of Slum Sharks and Whispers of the Deep. Are they the two unique... They look to be the two unique pool types to Ashgahet. Swarm of Slum Sharks, Whisper of the Deep. Oh no, sorry, Whisper of the Deep comes from Hallowfall as well. So it's actually just this Swarm of Slum Sharks is the only one that seems to be unique to Ashgahet. But it also doesn't have the treasure ones. Unless these are so lucrative you don't need the treasure ones by that point. Interesting. Kind of happy, sad about the tool crafting change. I guess I'm incentivized to be... The less I'm incentivized to be sweater, the better. Yeah, for me it's also 50-50 because it fixes one problem but it only incentivizes another. It's one step forward, two steps back in a way. But it was always going to change. Watching the video WoW released yesterday and hearing them say Warbound until equipped. Woo.
Is that your wallet?
Uwu gear.
Glad to see me.
Yeah. Got some
Both,
Uwu
I
gear. Ah, Chris with the gifted sub. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. They must have been aware that the shuffle gives people a major advantage. Oh, they know. They also just know that most people are not even going to think about doing it, never mind actually do it. I mean, the actual profession shuffle has been a problem since the launch of Dragonflight that they have not really been able to address properly. They tried by making the first time crafts for Artisan's metal like not be 5 but be 1. So they kind of nerfed it for the beginning of Dragonflight, but yeah, they still haven't fixed it. They bring back archaeology. I find it funny how they tried to sell us that the, what was that flipping? The Big Dig thing. The Big Dig was there. Look, we are thinking about archaeology. No, you donkeys. We don't want another weekly timed event. Give us actually archaeology, please. Right, let's go down to the Ringing Deeps then. Let's see what we can do down there. Let's head down to the Ringing Deeps and see if we can find these new treasure nodes. Late to the party, but grats on WoW partner. Appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't bring about... The WoW partner thing doesn't really bring about it too many benefits. Other than it should mean that for future alphas and betas, and more importantly, I have a direct line for feedback these days now, which is definitely beneficial. Right, let's head down to the Ringing Deeps then. Never done the Big Dig. Was it worth it? No, don't worry about it. It really wasn't. Few bits of mog. You're not missing much. Currently, it's awkward in that Mythic Plus and Raid awkwardly make you feel like you're required to do the one you don't enjoy to really push the limits of the other one that you love. If you want to improve as a player in the Raid environment, you're required to do your M+ chores every week, outside of the traditional pathway of leveling, crafted gear, dungeons, raid logging. This is why I've always thought that they should separate, like, the two should be staggered. The raids are the big thing. I've always thought the raid is the big thing, right? But obviously dungeons, that natural progression, put dungeons a step below. And so when they designed this Mythic Plus system, you know, it was quite clear that they were going to push it up and have it sit next to raiding. But yes, you're entirely right. If the closer in gear capabilities Mythic Plus has to the raid, the more both parties are going to feel obliged to do the other activity. And if you love absolutely everything about this game and you truly love Mythic Plus as much as you love raiding, then absolutely, like you're happy as pig in doo-doo. But most people tend to have a natural preference to one or the other. Hang on, let's have a little fly around, see if we can find any of the new fishing nodes. Make some 5-man raids. Gunna pool. I mean, the dungeon is a 5-man raid, isn't it? So. Yeesh. Treasures galore around here. Clearly not. Nobody's come and farmed them up. Angle Seeker Torrent. This is a new one. This is one I've not farmed before. Dip me rod in that pool. White Sea Raven? Well, it didn't pop up here, so we must have had those before. It was blue. Oh yeah, we've had some of those. Allow for current raiding to also scale with less. I love raid, but I really CBA to find 19 other people for Mythic. See, that for me is something that's an undersold difficulty. Like, without question, one of the reasons why most people don't do Mythic difficulty is because they can't reliably get 19 other people together. And I tend to think that's kind of, you know, that should be accounted for in the difficulty side of things. And this is why I kind of think that Blizzard does make the right decision, having Mythic be... was that a... that was technically a treasure, wasn't it? I think that's why they make the right decision, having Mythic being a fixed quantity of people. I don't think if you are doing the hardest content, you need to have flexibility with it as well. The hardest content is the hardest content. You can't, like, as soon as you start integrating flexibility to what is meant to be the most difficult stuff, you then actually, well, is Mythic more or less difficult with 20 or 16 players? And you know that then it means you're injecting variance to what's meant to be and tuned to be the most difficult content. If you want a more flexible experience, you have it in Heroic. I think it's quite I agree with that as a choice. I know people want flexible mythic, but of course, I want a toilet seat made out of gold. And I get one. Doesn't mean it's a good idea. Need more than 20 characters for mythic raiding. You need a lot to make sure the class composition is optimal for each boss, kind of like a football team switching out players. Yeah, it's highly organized. And, you know, a good percentage of the difficulty is the organization of just getting the right people there. I'm quite sure there are many players out there that only really play up to a heroic level, not because they don't have the ability to do the mythic bosses or mechanics. They face roll heroic, but they just can't overcome the true difficulty, which is getting those 20 people all be sat at their computer with their gear ready at the same time every week. You really don't want a toilet seat made out of gold. Literally the worst possible material for that purpose. It's either freezing cold, or if you heat it, it's then malleable. I'd never given it that much thought. Because yes, gold is a very soft metal, isn't it? I'd never really given it that much thought. Didn't Kanye once buy like 6 golden toilets or something for like 700k each? A new $1 billion house in Los Angeles or something. I'm sure I've heard something about that before. I picked up a minute ago one of the earthen induction coils. I wanted to try and find the second one to confirm that they're both still in existence. Oops. Come on. Trump had a golden bathroom years ago. Didn't he have a gold encrusted jet or something at one point as well? Probably paid for with Epstein money though, so it's probably a bit dodgy. Yacht or something? Yeah, I don't know. Some ridiculous something. Where's the fishing pool here? Hello? Oh, it's like literally right here. Okay. Mythic raiding is the dumpster fire for world first streamers to farm views. I'll make that bread, yo. Raiders gotta eat. Will you be doing any of the more elaborate shuffles? Oh, I'll go hardcore degen on one character. I'm not doing it on all professions. That'd be mental. Yeah, I'll go degen on one character just to showcase what life looks like doing degen stuff. Race to World First gets most views in WoW, you're delusional. From a streaming perspective, yeah, for sure. The final boss kill probably gets a lot of views on YouTube, but outside of that, it's a streaming event. I still have only ever found these Gloom Fathom hides from treasures. Somebody also said to me the other day as well, which I have not confirmed nor denied, but they said that the rare crafting reagents from treasures might be 80 only. Which could help with their value. It's been really hard this time round, actually, to try and guesstimate what the prices of things are going to be. I had a much better idea of what prices were going to be in Dragonflight beta. It was a little bit more well, to be fair, I haven't done the same level of testing this time around, which is probably why, but I could quite quickly guesstimate what the prices were going to be, and for the most part I got it relatively spot on. I expected Awaken to be like 500 gold a piece, and while some were significantly cheaper when Dragonflight launched, if you equated for Awakened order that was often 2,000 gold a piece, the average Awakened price was about 500 gold. So I got that relatively close. This time round, I'm not too sure. But I haven't done really much of any gathering, particularly this beta. I've weirdly had even more focus and attention on the crafting professions. And considering gathering was an absolute cash cow, an absolute cash cow in Dragonflight, I wonder how lucrative it's going to end up being this time. Seeker Torrent. Can you explain the shuffling concept? Oh, pick a profession, harvest, artisans, acuity, drop profession, rinse and repeat. I remember Method going 120% Sweat Lords buying gear in dungeons for $1 million plus just to get ahead of the competition. Oh yeah, I mean if you're... Since the Race to World First has been more televised, it's got even more competitive. Money will do that though. Apparently the biggest cash cow in Dragonflight was the bugged cloth crafting. I was told people made gold cap multiple times, got a short ban but kept the gold. I mean, unfortunately, and I really hope this isn't the case, Dragonflight was plagued with issues at the launch. Now, what does concern me is, like, as far as tailors are concerned, they have the same system again. So I really hope that whatever the exploit was with that in Dragonflight, Blizzard have not just copy-pasted the code and will ultimately copy-paste the same exploit opportunities. Because yes, if you are going to make something that's limited, you really should make sure that it stays limited. More water up here. It's hard to find places to fish out here, you know. I haven't found one of these fancy treasure spots yet, though. Out here. Change on profession tools changes a lot of plans. It will make a lot of people reevaluate what they plan on doing. This is pushed sweaty goblin playstyle from something that would be time consuming to something that's going to be very expensive and time consuming. That very expensive component will put a lot of people off from doing it. Because most people were looking to do it to make gold, not to have to risk the gold they already have. So we'll see who actually goes ahead and tries it. I haven't even picked my main profession yet. Well, I know which character I'm going to play. I'm going to play Ranthius for the beginning. My remix hunter. I think he deserves a little bit more airtime. I will pick one major profession on him, and then farm the Patron craft orders to get the Acuity, I guess, which is going to cost a lot of money. Yeah, not only that, but you're going to have to repeat the entire process every 3 days. So it's not like you get much leeway with it. By the time you've done it once, it's time to do it again. And unless you... It's going to be very, very expensive if you day trade with it. So what I mean by that is if you just buy the materials that you need when you need them to do whatever shuffling you're doing, it's going to be remarkably expensive. Because you're going to be beholden to whatever the price of those materials are at that very time. And so if the price of a material randomly spikes, which it absolutely is going to happen a few times, you're just going to have to deal with it. What players need to be doing is if they are insistent on doing profession shuffly stuff, they need to start having an idea and a good understanding of, well, how many materials is this actually going to cost me? Should I be buying the materials when I suspect they're at the cheapest? You know, there's some cost optimizations here to be done as well. It just pushes the entire thing into like an even more degenerate playstyle. Blizzard can't win in that regard. Just goblin, you know, gamers will do gamer things. Of course they will. There's profit on the line. To assume people won't be competitive just because of a slight blue post chain, you know, a hotfix to the previously popular strategy. No. You're just going to go and make the entire thing even more competitive. There are 2 treasures. Do those line up with what I knew to be the treasures previously? Engineering. I don't even know why I've got engineering right now, but engineering. Weekly drops. Earthen induction coil. Rust-locked mechanism. Earthen induction coil. Rust-locked mechanism. Yes. Confirmed. Still the same. Some more fish. Of course, they nerfed the profession gear shuffle just as I release a 1 hour and 13-minute video. Yep. Yep. That's the way. Oh, maybe I've got a 1 hour, 13-minute react to do then. Slating you for being wrong. Do you do the gathering profession shuffle and then pick your main profession and keep the other spot open to pick up a second crafting profession to harvest Acuity? See, it depends, right? Like I said, I've not really tested this particularly, so I don't know the full ins and outs, nor do I really gauge the time constraints of doing this. The knowledge I do have, though, is in leveling professions and understanding how to do it quickly when needed. Yes, you could take one profession and then leave the second slot open and use that second slot for shuffling. But what that is going to do is dramatically slow you down because you're going to have to do one profession at a time. Whereas if you... Well, you know, if you're trying to keep the time constraints down, you would arguably want to be doing two professions at a time. Especially when it comes to things like farming, gathering, and the likes. Or flying around collecting treasures, for example. All of that sort of stuff you're going to probably want to prefer to do, you know, two at a time. It's not totally going to double the amount of time it takes you to do it if you do it one at a time, but it won't be far off. It won't be far off double. I don't know. Like I said, I've not really tested it. I know of it conceptually. I understand how it works, but I've not really tested it. The only advantage I'd gain by testing it is a slightly better understanding of exactly what materials are needed and exactly how long it might take to do. But that testing is unlikely to change any of my decisions. It might change how many times I decide to do it, but I probably only plan to do it once anyway, to be honest. I'll do it on one character for one profession on one spec and see what we do. And I'll just let other people do it for other things. Brought back in how profitable it was. Blizzard doing the opposite of what Manthe says, grows stronger by the day. I would have truly been surprised if it wasn't changed. Like the conceptually it didn't fit. It didn't really fit with Blizzard's philosophy for the professions. A soul-bound material is soul-bound for a reason. Sure, for the system to function, sparks, you know, you have to provide the spark. But somebody else can do the heavy lifting of the crafting. There was no reason why Artisan, Acuity, and Profession Gear should have got a free pass on those rules, really. I would have been very surprised if they didn't change it. What I'm more happy with is that they've changed it now. Because they could have waited till next Wednesday to change it. You know? At least we got 7 days head start, you know, 7 days heads up that, oh, okay, it's changed. Now we can maybe reconfigure what we might plan to do for the launch with what professions and whatever. Bet it doesn't take as long as farming 50 to 60 dragon shards from dirt. No, that's true. Still going to be very time consuming though. Do you plan on doing 2x4 cloth farming? I'm not big on farming generally. Even when the gold is flowing via farming, it's not so much my thing. But for the purpose of content, there is a possibility that yes, I might be doing at least some of it. But farming is rarely my priority activity. I'll do a bit of farming if I've got nothing else to do. But I'm quite sure between leveling characters and getting my professions in order and farming reputation, which will involve killing rares, which will involve lore mastering. I'm not entirely sure how much time I'm going to find to go out farming. I might do it for an hour or two here and there to keep my professions up to speed. But I certainly won't be doing 12-hour mining, farming sessions or anything too crazy. Where's all me fishing nodes gone? Hang on, what was that purple thing that wasn't on my map? Why are you not on my map? Why is there a deep lost satchel not on my map? Why did that not show up on the minimap? Why did that one not show up? What's going on? Oh, it's because you're a herb. Whoops! You're a purple herb, you distracted me. Glimmer pool. Water too shallow? Well, don't put a pool there if it's too shallow, game. Here we go. Pedro on your map. Now play the song. Oh, Lord. I've been bullied into playing Pedro. Sorry, Team YouTube. You won't get Pedro. Don't know if that's a sorry or not. Right, Pedro's in the queue. Do you get Artisan's Acuity from fishing? Luckily, no. No, there's no Artisan's Acuity from fishing. There's no knowledge points. There's no weekly fishing turn-ins. There's the weekly fishing event, but there's not a turn-in. Still not found one of the funky treasures out here. There's so very few pools out here, though. And my fishing skill is only 140 still. Racials are going to matter a lot again. You can guarantee Q3 crafts with 1 green accessory still. I mean, I wouldn't say that means that racials matter. Although the theory goes, obviously, if you're 300 Artisan's Acuity under... it matters, but it's not defining. Because this change might slow some people down, but it's the people who it's not going to slow down, you know, are still going to win the race. You'll still, you'll still have to compete. You're not gaining yourself an advantage by really having the right racial. Nor are you particularly gaining a disadvantage. You might give yourself a tiny amount of wiggle room. These lava pools have fish in them anyway. Doesn't look like it. No lava fish. Yeah, I've deliberately not really spoken too much about racials. They might help you a little bit. Like I said, all they do is they give you a slight safety barrier. Which, considering one of the things we are going to be dealing with is patron orders, which are random from the word go. A safety barrier is one of those things that's nice to have. But it's not going to be... We're not going to be in a world like we were in Dragonflight, where having a racial or not having a racial is the difference between you being able to do or not do something once fully min-max. Because by that point, the racial doesn't matter. A racial is not going to allow some people... It's not going to allow people to be able to guarantee something at quality 3, and people who don't have the racial not guarantee it. All it might mean is that the people with the right racial have a little bit more wiggle room if they're really pushing to get there first. But by the time somebody gets there first, it's open season for everybody else anyway. So racials probably matter 1%. Which, when they matter so little, do they actually matter? You really wanted to go somewhat hard. You have an alt you don't care about. Farm up the 450 Acuity, then buy the 3 recipes or your main, which farms Acuity on the easy professions and then does patron orders. So then the first weeks you've got your 2 to 3 blue profession gear. Well, you don't need to farm Acuity on your alts. Just let some other crafter craft it. They'll craft it for you, don't worry. Jump in the Crafters Guild. Somebody will craft the tool for you. You don't need to do that yourself. Sure, you'll have to pay a premium, but pay that premium, save yourself the time. You'll have enough to do. Why are they messing with the AA shuffle when the biggest RNG is in patron orders, which could be the difference in weeks? Yeah, I still don't have a good understanding, really, of exactly how many patron orders Blizzard intends for us to be able to actually do. The beta has had, or it feels like beta has had, catch-up switched on basically permanently. I suspect that the glimmers and the flickers that you see appearing in patron orders are the catch-up system. That they are likely to only appear or if you are behind. That doesn't necessarily mean when we get the game go live that you'll be able to farm anywhere near as many knowledge points via patron orders as we've been able to on the beta. So when I've done any of my calculations, I've assumed that you get nothing from patron orders. So then anything you do get is considered a bonus. Because we don't know how many you're going to get. One thing to consider though is even if you don't get the catch-up knowledge point stuff, is the knowledge points reward potentially going to be swapped out for Artisan's Acuity anyway on those same orders? Are you still going to be able to technically complete the same quantity of orders, irrespective of what rewards they offer? The only orders you're not going to care about are going to be ones that give you like the augment runes, because they don't progress you forward in any way. Unless you're also somewhat limited to the amount of orders that you have, and so you are going to be inclined to fill all of them just purely so that when your weekly reset happens, it triggers enough new orders. There's so much randomness to the whole patron order system that's very, very... What the hell? I'm being chickened. It's very, very difficult to account for on the beta. That was a lot of chickens. Anybody know why alchemy weekly blue items from treasures give 2 knowledge points, whilst most of the others give 1? Yeah, I don't know why. There's a few professions that give you 2. I suspect it's because internally Blizzard wants to make each profession gain a similar percentage of their overall knowledge per week. Alchemy gaining 2 doesn't make much sense though. You'd think a recipe like blacksmithing would gain 2. Because blacksmithing has like 800 plus knowledge points or something absolutely bonkers. I've had some knowledge give me 3. 3? Oh dear. Somebody was saying this earlier that those rewards might be not a fixed quantity. And because it comes from you, I'm more inclined to trust it. It's your proven track history of breaking these things is usually pretty good. Are you sure that's not like the epic... I'm going to double clarify that that's not like the epic enchanting one, for example. Because enchanting works very differently. I think it was an epic engineering one. The hell is engineering doing getting an epic one? Oh, this is too late in the day for me to have questions about these things. Whoops, that's a big elite. That's hard to kill. We'll ignore that one. Can't find many fishing pools. I am technically flying around here to try and level up fishing, but this is I'm safely going to put forward the idea that fishing in this zone is a pain in the ass. Now I could just stand and fish rather than hunting down pools, but I think pools are more fun, right? Yeah, I mean, a 3 knowledge point epic engineering one is more likely to be a one-time treasure than it is to be a weekly gain. I know where all of those are. Got all of those documented. Delves are pretty good for fishing nodes. You could probably just spam with some pools near the entrance. Spam them that way. Do delves share or have their own or even any instance lockout limit? Has anybody tested that on the beta? That sounds like a Mikey thing to break. If you can, if there's no instance lockout limit on delves, then clear level 1 delves for any substantial reason, but I'm sure somebody's at least thought about it. I would guess the delves are on the 10 per hour limit. Haven't tested it, but now that you mention it, I'd likely dampen my suggestion. Well, yeah, this is kind of the thing, right? If they share the same instance lockout, you can't just hyper farm first a room of a delve, run out, reset sort of thing. It sounds like the kind of thing they would have thought about. You'd hope. You'd hope. Is there an equivalent of a knowledge stone that can be found digging in dirt? No. Rest easy, there is no dragon shards of knowledge. The temptation to do a clickbait YouTube video claiming to have found one, it has been very tempting. That's an easy 50k views. But no, you can rest easy. There's no dragon shards of knowledge. This does mean after the first couple of weeks, after the first 2, maybe 3 weeks, everybody is going to be on a very similar grind path. This is why the whole sweaty degenerate shuffle thing is, for starters, there's a lot of specs out there that don't really need to engage in it. You're going work orders in any way, shape or form. You don't need to faff around with the knowledge shuffle particularly. As long as you can get the knowledge points and some of your profession tools in order. Like, there's far less inclination for people going the work order route to do any sort of degenerate activity. Because your opportunity doesn't turn up until people get their sparks anyway. Which means your first couple of weeks are just sort of like chill preparation mode. It's those who are trying to, you know, guarantee quality 3 potions or flasks or enchants or gems or, you know, commodity items that are going to be at their highest demand. Maybe even some of them before the raid even launches. You know how people love to stock up on their potions and stuff prior to a raid launch. If you can be manufacturing even quality 2 potions, I don't think, after yesterday's video, I think it's probably quite apparent to most that guaranteeing quality 3 potions and flasks is going to take quite some time, even for sweaty sweats. But if you can hyper optimize your quality 2 crafting prices and produce quality 2s en masse with a reasonable margin. That's worth chasing. What about the lizard shards of ignorance? Ignorance is bliss. Any idea why the leatherworking Dornogle profession tools aren't on the beta vendors? Makes it annoying to test. Yeah, they started when the beta launched. They were pretty good about putting all of the recipes on the vendors, but any time that they've had to fix anything since, they've not been great about remembering to do that. So unfortunately, you just have to deal with it. Oh, there's a fishing pool. What's you? Glimmer pool. I want one of these treasure ones. I'm still yet to find a cool new treasure one out here. PvP gear will sound great during the pre-season. Probably not hard to get the skill to craft it, so they probably won't be as lucrative. Recipes. PvP recipes. Could be interesting at the start of the season. The fact that you can buy them for 7,500 honor and then put them on the auction house. I'm kind of hoping there's some sweaty PvPers that will Farm those up somehow. Comp stomp week 1. I mean, it's not, is it? It'd be funny if it was. Oh, 4K on a cap. So how do you get 7.5K to buy a recipe then? How does that work? Is that true? I know so little about that side of the game. Honor you can transfer. Then why is there a cap? Huh? Don't think the recipes will sell for as much because you need the honor reagents to craft them. You can't just spend a fortune on a recipe and then mass produce it easily. You'd be amazed what people are going to need to do though to get those first time craft bonuses. There's a full set of PvP gears worth 8 knowledge points. Which is also worth 40 Artisan's Acuity. Assuming that they all first time craft for 5 each. I mean, there is some potential that the sweatiest of the sweatiest degens will have to do PvP and farm up and acquire those recipes and craft them for the first time just for that purpose. Which is another thing that maybe some people haven't considered. Or is it just an early access cap? How would we know that anyway? We don't know anything about early access. How much less annoying gets prospecting when you skill for it, and do you get enough gems out of it for it to be reasonable? It's been a while since I've done any prospecting testing. I will probably do some more prospecting testing before the expansion goes live, so at least I know my numbers are relatively up to date. Especially considering there's a strong chance that my sweaty degenerate play through will focus on jewel crafting. Just because I love jewel crafting. Whoa, hang on, are we meant to catch these, or are we meant to... No, we're meant to not get hit by these. That's what we're meant to do. What was I saying? Yeah, prospecting does get much better. It entirely changes what you get, which is the big twist of it. You go from only being able to get 2 different colors of the gems, depending on what you're prospecting. If you're prospecting Ironclaw ore, you get 2. If you're prospecting Akirite, you get the other 2. So in the early days, when you're not very good at prospecting, not only do you get less gems, but you only even have the ability to get 2 of the gems. By the time you've spec'd into prospecting, you eventually can get yourself to the point where, regardless of which ore you're prospecting, you have access to all 4 of the gems. But in a weird twist, and I don't know if they've changed this, they also make it that by the time you can get all 4 gems from prospecting, you can pick either ore, presumably allowing you to pick which ore is cheaper. But you also then don't get ambers, which is the basic gem. Which I don't know if that's going to cause concern at any point. Kind of a bit of a... Reality is everybody else will be getting ambers and they'll be super cheap and they're a byproduct and you can always make them from stone, but like, yeah. Without showcasing it on stream right now, the easy answer is yes, prospecting gets better when you spec for it. Because it's pretty terrible when you start out. How's our fishing doing now? We're nearly 150. Progress has really slowed down on the fishing. I've not found anything particularly cool or interesting. was hoping to find a... What's the node called out here for the treasure? Oh. Hollow Fall and the fishing derby. Where did the fishing derby go? The Meldar Fishing Derby invites anglers far and wide to test their skills throughout the waters of Kazalgar. Hosted every Saturday. Stop by, earn some derby commendations and all kinds of prizes. Could you be the next real legend? Maybe. Maybe. Plus, we are now sufficient enough to maybe go and have a little bit of a look in Hallowfall, although we're still 75 skill away, so... What I was looking for out here is the floating deep treasures. Not found one of these pools yet. New fishing tournament, yeah. Do you think engineering is looking good? Engineering has the new mount. The new mount is the most attractive thing with engineering. That said, there are players that have already put in a lot of time and effort to min-max and hyper-optimize the production of the parts for the mount. So if you are... That's not to say you couldn't learn and catch up quick, but there's probably a lot of knowledge you need to obtain if you are looking at getting into that market. But engineering has these weird bombs, which I have absolutely no idea if anybody's going to use them yet. See, it's some sort of like potion bombs. They sound like they're going to be pretty good in a Mythic Plus scenario. But the question is anybody actually going to bother using them? I don't know. Engineering does its own usual things again. It's very utility focused with your wormhole and your jumper cables and that sort of thing. Like most of the professions, yes, they have a couple of embellishments, and we just got to wait for the Sims to just find out who ends up with the good embellishments. That depends on what sits on everybody's BIS lists. Is there any pattern when first crafts give 1 Acuity and when they give 5? Currently on the beta, some are giving 1, some give 5. It seems random. The theory, or basically this is old code from Dragonflight, really. But in Dragonflight, to limit the profession shuffle, which is humorous based upon recent conversations. But what they decided to do was... Oh, a floating deep treasure. Hang on, I will explain in a minute. The TLDR is no, I have absolutely no idea. But there was meant to be some logic. Any recipe that you got from the trainer was theoretically meant to only give you 1. But that also doesn't seem to be the case in the War Within, which is odd. So, I don't know. Okay, so here's our floating treasure. We've still got 6 minutes on our buff. What else can I stack buff-wise? Let's get all of these stupid materials out of here. Random stuff we found from treasures. I want to keep my reagent bag just full of fishing stuff. One of those. One of those. One of those. One of those. I don't know if these buffs stack, but if we don't try, we don't know. Go on, give me some goodies. Give me the goodies. Ooh, cosmetic. Oxidized wrench. Second cosmetic. I've got an engineer's screwdriver and an oxidized wrench so far from fishing. Another soaked journal entry. That's another 10 knowledge points. Not knowledge points, sorry. Force of habit, definitely not knowledge points. Another 10 maximum skill fishing. Another Dark Moon cards. These are money, these floating treasure ones. Corway sledgehammer. Another cosmetic. What do these look like then? Big wacky stick. Big wacky stick. Bang bang. A oxidized wrench. Your engineer mog. And a screwdriver for the other one. Okay, well there's your engineer mog. Screwdriver and a wrench. And fishing, interestingly. That's 10, 20, 30, 40 points I've got in the bag, which I'll save then until I get to 260 and then use all of those to skyrocket myself to 300. This will also means if you want to do fishing on an alt, you won't necessarily have to level it up again after a while, because I guess you'll keep getting these. And they're warbound, look. Put these in your war bank. Alright, let's try and find some more treasure nodes then. The fact it's taken me most of the stream to find like 3 of them on beta when I probably have 0 competition means you might not find those very frequently when the game goes live. Best one for science, did it say Kazal Gar fishing? Wait, hang on. Increase fishing skill by 10 up to a maximum of 300. Barely legible, but perhaps of use to somebody in your warband. It didn't actually say Kazal Gar, no. You should get the tetanus achievement when you fish up those rusty tools. Have you had your tetanus shots? Some dum-dums didn't even get their COVID shots. They ain't going to get tetanus shots, are they? Laugh if it leveled up classic fishing. It would be funny in one of those kind of not funny type of ways. Dark Moon cards are raining from the sky for me on beta. I've looted like 7 from a single mob pack. Okay. I wonder if they're going to be much of anything. That I mean, like the obvious comment on that is that if they rain from the skies, then they'll be worth nothing, and it's just, you know, it's yet another nail in the coffin for Inscription. I still find it very odd that they have basically removed 50% of the Inscription profession and given it nothing in return. My main bit of feedback about Inscription, really, is it just feels gutted. Like they've taken everything from Inscription that was ever interesting about Inscription. Oh, but you still have Vantus runes. Woo! You know? It's like, okay. It's kind of like that stop it's already dead kind of meme with Inscription a little bit. Kind of wonder why it's still a thing when they've stripped it bare. Give Inscription back their shoulder enchants, at least it was something. Yeah, anything that's ever been of value to Inscription has basically been removed by this point. Glyphs, shoulder enchants. In Dragonflight, they had the dragon riding cosmetics, which was, you know, you could kind of consider it in the realm of glyphs. Dark Moon cards was always a big thing. It was not only was it a big thing, it was basically the primary thing for Inscription at the beginning of the expansion. Taken that from it as well. Sure, we got Missives, which started in Shadowlands and has evolved, but you know, the only thing that they still really have is contracts. They've kind of been crowbarred in a little bit. It's really odd. Do I remember when BIS lists were released on Wowhead or Dragonflight? No, I can't. Bounce on the slime without touching it for as long as you... What? Oh god, this is a... What is this minigame? This is from a treasure, by the way. The hell did that do? Oh, you know there's an achievement for bouncing on that thing 10 times or something. Keep bouncing without touching the ground to get better rewards. Oh, that was a snuffling thing. Wait, hang on. What the hell did that mean then? Give me my reward. Hello? It gave me... Oh, so when the buff then goes, I got 2 blobs of wax. Okay. Booze.
Hey, that's too far away.
Missing the glyph system. Yeah, Inscription's odd. I don't know what their plan is for Inscription, really. Just isn't Inscription technically the newest profession as well? We've not had a new profession since Inscription. We had jewel crafting, then we got Inscription, and that's it, right? So it's the newest. I mean, obviously, when I say newest, Inscription's still been here literally forever.
These are earthen resources.
Archaeology was in Kata. Oh, was it? Okay, so okay, maybe archaeology's come and gone, but I can't remember. Yeah, definitely. It could definitely do with some love. Definitely do with summon. I mean, it's too late in the day now. The expansion's about to go live, but when player housing comes in, we might get a carpenter profession. Go chop some trees. Wait, what? Chop some trees, make some furniture.
I need to target something first.
I've always kind of wondered what other professions they could add to the game. It doesn't seem like there's much that would really fit. Please put fishing on a keybind. I almost don't deliberately. Butcher. There's like sub-genres. This is kind of what I thought they were going to do with specializations, you know? Because Butcher is like a sub-genre of cooking in a way. I thought this is what, you know, they were going to lean into maybe with specializations. But they haven't really... I mean, obviously they've named the spec trees. They haven't, like, properly made you pick a direction and then you have a spec tree for that direction sort of thing. I thought they could have done. Let people get married. Scribes can then do the wedding contracts. Oh my god. Moonguard, pop off. Argent Dawn, bit of Moonguard action. I'd love that. Player housing, can't wait to spend my time on my tailor making curtains. My wife will definitely think I'm mad. I think most significant others that also don't play video games would look at most things you do in World of Warcraft and just question why. I mean, my wife, for example, the closest to gaming she gets is playing, like, Farmville. Like, she might indulge in a Candy Crush here and there, but, like, she doesn't do gaming. And so often is very, very confused when I tell her what I've been doing for the day. I'll go back to the main house today, and you know, I'll tell the wife that yeah, I spent most of the day talking about shuffling professions and fishing. She'll just look at me funny. Oh no, you're a 10 million elite. I don't want to have to kill a 10 million health elite just for a fishing pool. Main house? Are you rich or something? Okay, I should clarify that, shouldn't I? Really? We don't own two houses, but this is what I call the studio because basically it's above our garage. It's above our garage. I have my computer set up here. You can see we have the big TV for like film nights here, but it's physically disconnected from the house because it's above our garage. And so we call this the studio, and then there's the main house. We don't own two houses. Yeah, the most dedicated man cave, really. I have claimed this space as my own. My wife plays WoW, but she even questions what I do in World of Warcraft. K-Chak, most people question what you do in World of Warcraft, but they only do it from the perspective of they would like to do the same. Gaming cocksheds have been the meta. God, you're starting to sound like Quinn. Once spent a couple of days in Final Fantasy making pans non-stop. It was a min-max way to grind a currency. Boyfriend was very confused. Still a bit of a running joke. So, yeah, we do odd things in our spare time for amusement, don't we? Certainly do. I'm somewhat worried about the fact that in the not too distant future, and by not too distant future I mean in probably 10 days time, I'll have to do all of this again. But I'll have to do it for real. I'm thinking when my body clock is completely destroyed because of early access launching at 1 AM, by the time I hit level 80 on my main character, it might then be time to relax and fall into a small coma by leveling fishing. And then we'll get on to leveling a few alts. We're actually going to play at 1 AM? Yeah. Yeah, if we're doing it, we should do it, shouldn't we? Aussie's got it good. 8 AM on a Friday. I mean, that couldn't be better. But let me remind you, you have fucking huge, great big spiders, so who's the real winner? Your bugs can kill you. You can have an optimal timing for an expansion launch. You have it. You have it. you keep that. I'll live in the country that Mother Nature's not trying to kill me. Imagine getting ganked by a bug. Yeah, you living with war mode on permanently. Not gonna happen. Nope. Nope. I'm not getting shivved in the back by a black widow. Forget that. Rubbish. I live north of Blizzard. All launch times are catered to me. Well, lucky. Because Mother Nature's really your friend in Finland at minus 20 degrees. We just don't go outside. It's actually perfect for gamers. Oh, it's minus 30 outside. Well, how about I just don't go outside? It's fine. No problems. Put some clothes on, don't go outside. How much is your heating bill though? Well, yeah, you are absolutely mental if you have electric heating though in Finland. That is true. How do I get that fishing pole? There we go. What do you have? Magic? Russians invading Finland, no worries, I'll stay inside. Yeah, they can do their thing, it's fine. You're in Finland? I pictured you in Manchester or something like that. Well, I am English, but I don't live in that hellhole of a country anymore. I got out when I could. Or should I say, I was distracted by the incredibly beautiful population of Finland. What kind of heating do you have? Asking as a fellow Finn. I have pellet burning system. This, directly behind me, from this wall, is behind that wall is the silo. So we have like 7 tons of pellets in there, which is convenient, because convenient and annoying. Convenient in terms of the fact our heating bills are relatively normalized. Spend a few €1,000, fill the silo with pellets, and then it's just on 24 hours a day. It's overall, it's significantly more effective for heating than you know, electric radiators or anything like that. But for my non-Finns, basically, you burn small amounts of pellets to heat your water, and then all of your heating is like underfloor heating, and it's water pipes. So my entire house is heated by that, and it's just, you know, for the most part, it's just on. It maintains the water temperature at like 65 degrees or something. So it just self-manages itself. The only annoyance is that it requires monthly maintenance to keep it, like, you know, or you're burning wood pellets constantly. There's a little bit of monthly maintenance I have to do, but apart from that, it's fine. Yeah, pellets rather than pallets. It turns up on pallets. Well, actually now it turns up in the back of a massive great big lorry and they blast it in via a hose. In Manchester, you burn tyres or something for heating, don't you? Something like that, I don't know. Throw another patio chair on the bonfire. Something like that. What do you think is the best 2x4 farming profession? You've pretty much nailed it there. One of the three. Depending on how lucrative Dark Moon cards are, Inscription is putting itself sort of in line for being useful. But if Dark Moon cards are 10 gold a piece, then maybe not. Skinning potentially. But when you're doing skinning can easily be a group activity. So that works. Tailoring is going to be a good one because only tailors get cloth. Tailoring is like the only one that's like an absolute yes. That works well. In the Netherlands, we're testing heating water with solar panels. One of my neighbours down the road has that system, which you'd think is actually mental in Finland because it's dark for 6 months of the year, but it's like a secondary backup system for them. Basically means their hot water is just free for a few months of the year at least. Quite clever. Right, I'm 163 in fishing. This is definitely no, let's quickly just bash out fishing to 300, is it? Although I could, like I said, I could just stand in one spot and fish, but I'm looking for the pools. Come on. King Splash, you sound like a rare. You're not even a rare. What's going on here? Maybe King Splash. Is King Splash? Oh no, he doesn't have a question mark on his head either. Who's King Splash? Why is he here? Why has he got so much health? Tameable? Beast? Maybe tameable. Too late, he's dead, but maybe. Blizzard's providing enough heating for me with all these last minute changes. For naturally boiling your blood. Yeah, I feel you. Couple of thunderous hides, don't mind if I do. Going to Helsinki on Monday. Any tourist tips? Any good food you recommend? Ooh. I don't actually go to Helsinki all that often. I like literally maybe twice a year. So I don't necessarily know. You can't go to Helsinki and not go to the church though. You got to go get your pictures outside the big church. Depending on what age range you're in, there is the theme park as well, Linnanmäki. Though at this time of the year it could be fested with kids, so maybe not.
It's still a shot.
Helsinki library is awesome. Went to a French restaurant that was pretty amazing. Pre-pandemic though. Yeah, there's definitely some nice restaurants in Helsinki for sure. You've got the widest variety of food establishments there. If you want anything even remotely Finnish, head to sort of the outer regions where you're more likely to find sort of more traditional food. In the centre it is more touristy trap sort of stuff.
Is that your wallet? Or are you just glad to see me?
Both, I
Stroh, my
hope.
man, with the prime. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good morning, good morning. It's not good morning anymore, is it? It's even good afternoon for you. Welcome in. I am not from Finland, no, but I do live here. My wife is Finnish. That's, it's her fault. it's her fault I live in this wonderful country. I assume you're not getting 10 to 15 grey items with every cast anymore. No, I am mostly getting fish now. We are mostly actually collecting something that's useful. But we are 164. Your wife is finished? Dear Jack, clean your ears. Somebody else finished with what? I'm not even finished and that joke annoys me. Heard it too many times. I've made it too many times, that's the problem.
Spirits be with you, man.
Great minds think alike. All your windows double glazed? Oh, and some. I'm lucky. The house is... In fact, my house is 100 years old this year. I don't know the exact birthday of my house, but my house is 100 years old, so it's an old school house. But it's it was fully renovated not too long ago. We didn't do it. We only bought it a couple of years ago. But like, it was fully renovated a few years ago. One of the things they did was update a lot of the windows. Not all of them. But it does mean a lot of them are like now triple glazed windows. Proper designed for the Arctic weather. Yes, this is my Windows update, yeah. That's not a thing in Australia. What, Windows? Really are one with nature. Just some fly wire. To be fair, that's probably the best plan. Noticed last night that I need a lot of the crystal powder and the ringing deep stones. 2 blue no quality items. Do you know where they come from? Yeah, crystal powder is from herbing and mining. The crystallized nodes. So herbalists, miners can overload on crystallized nodes to get the crystal powder. Can't remember exactly what it's called, but I know what you mean. The ringing deeps ingots are from treasures. Surprise, surprise. In the ringing deeps. So there's a good chance I've got some here. Look, here we go. Ringing deeps ingot. They're like this pile of refuge here. For example, I didn't get one then, but they can. Aussies are only using Linux. That would explain a lot. I don't think I've ever used Linux, you know. Well, not deliberately. Everybody's accidentally used Linux because half the internet is on Linux, but like, I don't think I've ever deliberately used Linux. Been 15 degrees here all winter and I'm thinking about getting double glazed windows. See, for me, 15 degrees is t-shirt weather. But then, so to use the word winter in the same sentence feels very strange. Above 12 degrees, t-shirt. Oh yeah, exactly, yeah. 15 degrees, like, I'm English. 15 degrees and you got to start thinking about getting the sun cream out. Because beggars can't be choosers. You know? Sun's out, guns out. By the end of the day, you will be sunburnt. It's a fact. This forehead isn't red for for no reason. English 2, when you get used to the Aussie heat, winter is freezing. I have developed a greater appreciation for warm weather though since moving to Finland. When you go 6 months with sub-zero temperatures, it can quite quickly it quite quickly makes you realize that, oh, 18 degrees is beautiful. Like, absolutely beautiful. We cannot listen to this for any longer. Sorry, I was bopping along to Spice Girls for a minute there. There's me fishy pools. 18 to 22, happy bunny. Yeah. Yeah, that is perfect. If I'm doing anything constructive, 18 to 22, spot on. If I'm chilling though, if I'm just relaxing, I like it a little bit warmer. Welcome in though, Woo, by the way. How you doing? Hope you're well. Yeah, 18 to 22, really nice. Comfortable. Don't have to worry about putting a sweatshirt or a coat or anything silly on. You can do what you need to do. But if you are just, you know, chilling, sat down, relaxing, 25 minimum really for me. California coast, coldest we get is 15, hottest is 30. High today will be 23. So that's interesting that it's basically the same temperature or forever. Like, your temperature varies between 15 degrees. In Finland, your temperature can vary 60 degrees. Anything from plus 30 to minus 30, very likely to happen. I kind of like it though, because it means that there's actually defined seasons. Isn't 18 to 22 a bit young for you? Alright, shut up. Been lurking all morning. I appreciate the lurks. Hey, a treasure one. Money. Right, let's stock up on buffs. Go. 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 Water too shallow? What do you mean? Right, what are we going to get out of this then? Nothing, apparently. What's going on? Another soaked journal entry. 10 skill points for free. Oh, another careless coin. Oh no, a cursed goldfish. That is not the time to get a cursed goldfish. Well, hang on, they're unique 5. Oh, that's annoying. I fished one up. In fishing it, I got the debuff, but I didn't get the item because they're unique 5. Huh. Okay. That almost feels like it should be a bug. I wonder if it goes in my... Arc off with your slimy slimes. I wonder if it ends up in my mailbox. Oh, another one. Get out of my bag. Oh no, the problem is because I've got one, I have to get rid of all of them. Oh, ooey. Go away. Now the buff goes away. Go on, something good. Oh god, we got like 3 cursed goldfishes there. What an absolute waste. It's a shame. Alright, okay. What are you gonna do? Fishing treasure seems super rare based on the last 20 or so minutes. By the way, any version of lunkers? No. Not that I've found anyway. There's an NPC which apparently I'm not going to be able to see until Saturday, which is tomorrow. He spawns on Saturday at the fishing derby thing, which would be interesting to investigate, but that'll have to wait. Soaked journal entries up to 10 skill, up to a max of 300. So we got to 170. 80, 92, 220 if I popped all of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll probably save those till I get to 250, so I don't have to do the final grind. Had some crusty Dark Moon cards. I've still only found 2 Algari angler threads. Farming 100 of these is going to be very time intensive by the looks of things. But maybe there's some better way to focus farm them. Maybe once you're better skill. Few cosmetics, bunch of different fish. Seems to be... It's different. It's different enough that people might, you know, do it at least once. Very little to the fishing derby. Fishing seems a lot less filled out than it was in Dragonflight with the Tuskar stuff. Yeah, to be fair, the Tuskar stuff did add quite some things to fishing, didn't it, really? Like all the special fishing holes and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, whether it's better or worse than Dragonflight, I don't really know. But it's at least different. When I first tested, all the fishing pools in the Ringing Deeps were about 100 yards above ground level. Yeah, luckily they fixed that by the looks of things. Goldfish are a pain in the butt. I was getting loads of them in delves. For what it's worth, nodes in the delves seem to be higher quality on average. Maybe I'll test them out in the delves at some point. We'll see. Boys and girls, though, I'm going to leave it there for today. I know we were only pottering around doing fishing. We weren't doing anything particularly serious today, but it is Friday after all. I'm taking a day off tomorrow. I have the need to do some IRL adulting stuff tomorrow, so I'm going to take a day off completely. I'm not even home tomorrow. I'm going to be out the house most of the day. But we'll be back, probably not streaming, but I will be back doing some sort of YouTube-y type stuff on Sunday. But we'll stream again on Monday. Next stream will be on Monday. It will then be launch week on Monday. It's getting close, isn't it? It's getting really close. The hype is starting to kick in. But yeah, have yourselves a good weekend. If you're testing any beta and testing beta stuff and find out anything interesting, let me know on the Discord. I will periodically be checking in on the Discord all the same, even though I claim to take a day off, I never really actually do. But yeah, enjoy your weekend. Have fun. Come say hi on the Discord. I'll catch you all on Monday. Have a good one. Peace.